Welcome to the International Humanitarian Missions event. Today, we really want to thank you for joining us. My name is Tai Van Nguyen, and I'm joined here with Brian Le. And we will take you to a special journey where we got to introduce to you our journey that we had last year. And this has been the most memorable journey that I've had in my life. And I'm so glad to be able to be here to introduce to you this event. And we hope that we will open up your eyes and see what we experienced. Brian?
Xin kính chào quý vị. Chào mừng quý vị đến với chương trình của International Humanitarian Mission lần đầu tiên. Chúng tôi trân trọng và rất vui mừng đón quý vị đến với chương trình của chúng tôi hôm nay. Chúng tôi muốn chào mừng quý vị đến để qua một cái chương trình về những trẻ em và những người Việt tại Cambodia ở TonLe Sap. Và chúng tôi cũng mong muốn quý vị sẽ chúng tôi giúp đỡ những người Việt và những trẻ em ở TonLe Sap.
I would like to introduce to you actually the chairperson of International Humanitarian Missions, who will provide to you with a detailed journey about the forgotten children of TonLe Sap. She has been my special friend for many years and really has been the inspiration of this whole event. Dr. Mai Kan Tran.
Thank you, Tai Van, and thank you, Brian. I'm again Dr. Mai Kan Tran, and over the next hour and a half, we're going to take you on this journey that Dr. Tai Van was talking about, one that I think will open your eyes and open your hearts. Along the way, you're going to meet a cast of characters whose story is going to haunt you and whose smiles on the children's faces are really going to tug at your hearts. I know because I've never been touched in a way like this before. The story of us began with Richard Botkin, a friend of mine, a mentor who's worked tirelessly for decades to fight human trafficking in Cambodia. You know, he opened our eyes to the condition of our forgotten countrymen. And so I am so grateful for that introduction. And I'm honored to have him here today to just give us, share with us his experience. Richard?
Thank you, Dr. Mai Kan, my doctor. I'll tell you, I've been going to Cambodia since 1998, and I had done 19 missions before I was fortunate enough to join with Mai Kan and her team. And in that period, we did some important things with some very good groups. And towards the end, I began to realize that most of the people we were serving were these stateless ethnic Vietnamese people in and around the area of Phnom Penh, in a place called Svai Pak, which is the capital of child trafficking. This was the most impacting mission. This was one of the most important things. Maybe it's the most important thing I did up until then. But these people need us. These are people that are the poorest people in the world. Not only are their children getting sex trafficked, but you're going to hear the medical conditions of these people. Without water, how many people in America can even fathom the idea of not having potable water? Some people may go to bed hungry in the United States. No one goes to bed thirsty here. And to work with this group, this is an amazing group. It has been the highlight of, I'm an old Marine, and I love fellowship and doing special things. I believe in transcendent causes. This is the most important cause for the rest of my life. And I hope that you'll see that going forward. And as we go forward tonight, I'm going to try and recruit people. If you want something to give joy to your life, to give meaning to your life, to help other people who really need to be blessed, and you in turn will be blessed, join us. Think about joining our team in addition to supporting this team. It is worth it. These people need our help. Without us, there's nothing for them.
Thank you, Richard. Well, so Richard didn't tell you that after all the trips that he went to Cambodia, one of the reasons why he kept going back was because, the people who he served there were really children of Vietnamese descent who really didn't have any rights, and so they ended up being trafficked. So Richard said to me the reason why he came back over and over again is because there are many forms of suffering. But the suffering that children have to go through when they're being trafficked, when they're being sold to prostitution, was the kind of suffering that we just could not imagine as parents, as humans, as physicians, as people of conscience and heart. So that's why he kept coming back. And to me, that was an inspiration. I mean, an inspiration to just get on board. So of course I checked out, right? CNN had an expose about Sap Pack. And I was amazed because when I saw the CNN interview, it was actually an interview of a 12-year-old Vietnamese girl who was sold for $1,500 to pay her family's debt. Her family had lived on TonLe Sap Lake, and they had to borrow money to buy some fishing net. And they couldn't pay back because her dad got sick. And so she was brought to Phnom Penh and given to people who ended up sold her for prostitution. So of course, hearing these stories, right, the doctors, all of us who are veterans of many other relief missions said, we're going to go there, we're going to get all of our experts. We got a gynecologist, a pediatrician, family medicine doctors, and we said, we're going to go there and try to provide care for these people. We were going to go to a clinic in the middle of Sap Pack, in the middle of that neighborhood, and we actually saw patients there. Outside of the clinic, these were the streets that the girls could be bought at any price, at any ages. And that was our reason to go there. But once we had our team going, I mean, we had a very robust team of many professional doctors, dentists, pharmacists. We said, you know what, let's get to the root of it. Let's go to the lake, right? Let's go to where these stateless peoples have to live. Because the prostitution and the trafficking really is a result of the fact that they're stateless. And they're stateless, they can't own land, right? They can't go to school. They can't have access to health care. They can't get a job. So then what do? They end up living on the lake, right? And they have to eat, so they're going to fish. That's really all they can do is fish. The children can't go to school, right? And when things, when things don't work out, the families have to pay back their debt. And you know how what they do to get their debt. They will take their children. What did we find at Kampanjanang? We found that there are these stateless Vietnamese living in Cambodia. They're the largest group of stateless people anywhere in the world. So how many? About somewhere between 800,000 to 1.2 million people. Now, how accurate is that number? Well, honestly, I don't think we know, but I think that speaks of the nature of undocumented stateless people, right? They're not accounted for and they're not really wanted by any country. So just to recap, as stateless people, they cannot own land, they cannot get a job, they cannot get health care, the children can't go to school. So basically, they have no rights. Their only option is to live on the water, fish to eat, or be trafficked. I mean, that's really all they have. Unfortunately, though, even this lowest standard of living is being threatened, right? First, by the changing ecosystem that has killed off most of the fish. Second, because of the forced eviction of these families from the lake to unlivable plots of land that had no access to road, no water, no school, no health clinic. So Kampanjanang is the site of the largest mass eviction from TonLe Sap Lake and by far the loudest protest. So you asked me, how accurate is that number? And again, I don't think we know. I mean, but we know what we saw, right? When we went there, we saw these people. We saw these rows of boats. We saw these rows of shacks. So I wanted you guys to, and I want to invite you to watch this video that we shot at the end of 2019, December of 2019, before the pandemic hit us, so that you too can see what we saw.
In Cambodia, there's a story of suffering of monumental proportions. Approximately, there are 800,000 ethnic Vietnamese who live in the country without papers, and the majority of them in floating villages around the TonLe Sap Lake. Though one of the largest stateless ethnic groups in the world, this population is largely invisible. They are rarely mentioned in the world media. By and large, their sufferings are untold, hidden, and ignored by the international bodies. Worse, they now find themselves in a deepening crisis. while the TonLe Sap is the largest freshwater lake in Southeast Asia, providing sustenance and fresh water for the entire region. It is part of the Mekong system that itself is eroding due to overbuilt of dams and abuses of waterways by China, Thailand, and Laos, countries upstream from Cambodia. For this population, the lake is both the source of their livelihood and sustenance. But the lake is drying up, and dwindling along with it are various fish species and plant life. All the while, the water is turning increasingly polluted and toxic. It is the same water that they cook, drink, and bathe in. They desperately need clean water. People who depend on the lake to survive are finding themselves in dire straits. Besides facing an array of health problems such as typhoid, hepatitis, and dysentery, their main job, that of processing fish, is disappearing. It is no surprise that this population is also one of the most exploited in the world. Their children have become commodities to be bought and sold. After all, when there's nothing left, the only option that remains for the dispossessed is the human flesh. Richard Botkin is an American Marine and businessman who fought human trafficking in Cambodia over 20 years.
We're about 100 kilometers north of Phnom Penh, in the heart of the stateless ethnic Vietnamese populations on the TonLe Sap. And in front of me are my dozen young friends who just moments ago were working on one of the boats, processing fish with their hands. These little girls and boys, especially little girls, at risk of being sex trafficked if we don't do something. If we came back and did nothing in a couple of years, these kids could be gone. They are precious in God's eyes. They're precious in our eyes. We've got to do something. We can change the world forever for 1, 2, 3, a dozen of these. These young people are the reason we're here. And we're going to keep coming back. We need your help.
The Vietnamese people in Cambodia have become a primary source for human trafficking. Instead of schools, many of these children end up here in Svay Pak, a Vietnamese neighborhood outside of Phnom Penh, known for its many brothels. Svay Pak is considered by many the world capital of child prostitution.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mai-Con Tran, and I've been a pediatrician for 25 years. I've been all over the world to treat patients, but nowhere touched me as much as the children of Vietnamese descent in Cambodia. We're in an area right off the lake, TonLe Sap Lake, and the children here have had no access to education, no access to good health care, no rights, and they live off the lake. Their families have no way to give them anything resembling a bright future. Now, I remember talking to a mom who said she doesn't know what a future is for her daughter. Let's help her know what that future is by giving them these girls, these beautiful girls, an education. Let's give them good health care with vaccinations, nutrition, and medicine. And let's make sure that they know what a future is so that they don't have to be at risk for being trafficked. These are the children who will, one of these days, if they don't have our help, they're going to be trafficked out there in the city. Please join me. Moms and grandmothers, parents, doctors, we all can make a difference by giving these children a brighter future. Please join me.
Soon after this interview, the landlord closed the school, and these children now have lost the only school they have ever known. Jocelyn Tran was once a Vietnamese refugee who fled to America and became head of Walmart in Southeast Asia. She's met many US presidents and senators, but it's the children she met in Cambodia that impacted her most. Here she is, speaking with two young girls living at the edge of the society without their parents' supervision.
Cô chào các em.
Chào cô.
Bây giờ mấy tuổi rồi?
12 tuổi.
12 tuổi, còn em?
12 tuổi.
12 tuổi, vậy chị em phải không?
Dạ.
Hiện tại bây giờ con đang làm gì?
Con đang cắt cá.
Một ngày con làm được bao nhiêu?
Nhiều là được 18, 19 ngàn gì đó.
Con đi làm mỗi ngày hả?
Dạ, chừng nào có cá thì con làm.
Con sống với ai?
Con sống với nội.
Học lớp mấy rồi?
Học lớp 3.
You know, I look at them, could see ourselves in them too. But they have a path that is very unlike ours. So the difference that you can make, it will make a difference in their life. 20 years, 15 years from now, what if they become an engineer? What if they become an architect? That's so wonderful. And you see, they no longer cutting fish to make a living.
Far too few found refuge at a convent like this one in Phnom Penh. A heaven where they can pursue an education, can imagine a future. The difference is $150 a year to keep a child in school and $500 a year to keep a student in college. But these are the lucky ones. They have a fighting chance. For far too many others, time is running out. Please join our effort to provide a school, a filtered water system, and a medical clinic for the families on TonLe Sap Lake. Help us give a future to these forgotten children.
I don't know how you feel, but this is the images that really kept me sometimes thinking at night how anyone can live in this kind of condition. And after the video, we all, after our experience, we all got together and felt like we have to do something, that we cannot forget these people in TonLe Sap, and we really cannot forget the children in TonLe Sap. And we hope that through what you have seen so far, if you can help us in any way, join our team, joined with a donation. Any donation would be truly appreciated. As you can see, the need is endless, and we can do so much with a donation. And join us. And I can tell you for myself, this has been an incredible experience, and I have felt like there's an incredible purpose in my life to try to improve the life of these people.
So what you're seeing is our team working at the AIM clinic in Swai Pak. And beyond the fence are the streets where little Vietnamese girls could be bought at any price. That's where we worked. So for us, it's all about the children. The kids who never receive any vaccination, who never saw a doctor, who worked cutting fish starting at the age of 5 or 6, who never saw the inside of a school, who, when they reach their teen years, would be trafficked to pay for their family's debt. I mean, it's for these children. And it's all because they're stateless, right? First, they're forced to live on the floating villages because they really couldn't own land. But then now being evicted from the only home they know because the lake is drying up and it's dying. So through our eye-opening and life-changing mission that we had last summer, we really came to terms with the urgency of the situation. So we came back and quickly formed the International Humanitarian Mission to bring our expertise and our experience in healthcare, education, business, and technology to provide sustainable solutions to these pressing problems facing the ethnic Vietnamese on TonLe Sap Lake. And I think we are unique because we're not only going to go do some relief work, but we're going to provide sustainable solutions to these problems. So I'm proud to be part of an outstanding board comprising of experts in the field of medicine, law, business, and education. But our supporting cast is even bigger and better. we've identified 3 immediate goals. 1, to provide education to the children to give them a future in Cambodia. And that includes the construction of schoolhouse, but also a development of a curriculum that's either bilingual or hopefully trilingual. 2, provide quality health care to the villagers who've never seen doctors, who really don't have the money to go to clinics in the Cambodian city. Our emphasis is going to be women's health. And thirdly, we're going to provide access to clean water to the villagers. And you know how important the clean water is to their health care, their well-being. So IHM is born from the vision of those who went to Cambodia in 2019 and the collaboration of other nonprofits like AIM or iLazaro. They've worked for many years in the country, but with our help, we're going to form this organization that will then really dive deeper into the problems and really coming up with sustainable solutions. So let's look closer at the Cambodian Medical Mission of 2019.
In July 2019, 45 volunteers formed to serve in the medical mission in Cambodia. It composed of the team of physicians, dentists, pharmacists, and many volunteers. The physician composed of family medicine doctor, pediatrician, OBGYN, pain specialist, cardiologist, and gastroenterologist. We served more than 2,000 people in the medical mission. The team of the pharmacist hand out more than $50,000 worth of medication to people in need. We serve it at the 3 different locations in Cambodia. One of them is Sue Pac, the human trafficking center of Cambodia or in the world. We also serving people by TonLe Sap, the area of ethnic Vietnamese people.
We are literally the first doctors or pharmacists or optometrists who these people get to see. And part of the problem is they're actually starving. They don't even have food to eat. They don't have clean water. And so part of our mission was also food relief. And we provided more than 1,000 provisions of rice and other essentials for the family. We also provided over 200 wooden poles. You wouldn't think that that is so valuable, these poles, but it actually allowed them to have shelter. And during these gift giving, of course, we have to remember the children, and we gave out toys and also just basic necessities for the children. And I know my children had the opportunity to see what they have comparing to how these children, what little they have. And it was very touching to our young volunteers. And then we also actually did give out over 200 scholarships for these children. It's a little token, but I think it also tells them how important education is. And this will be part of our focus of our long-term effort to change the situation for these people.
As you can see, it was emotional medical mission for all of us who has been on many medical mission before. We've seen one of the worst situations we ever seen in any medical mission. And to recap, we want to introduce you to the video about Medical Mission 2019.
So tell me, what is your name and what you do here?
My name is Chandra Ang. I'm here to assist the medical mission in Kampong Chnang. Since I work with the poor community, vulnerable community in Kampong Chnang.
Tell me about these people today here.
I feel very happy to see the poor people who usually never get such treatment, medical treatment like that before. I observe your team, medical mission or team, not normally provide medical treatment to the poor community or vulnerable community people at the outskirts of Phnom Penh City. But now your team extend to the province. It's very quite good and supportive for the community people here.
I see.
Yeah.
So tell me about the city. This city is Kampong
Chnang.
Yeah.
Kampong Chnang
Very
town.
poor city.
Yeah. We have ethnic Vietnamese community people, especially they live in the floating house. And they have been relocated by provincial administration last year to the land. So they face a lot of problems like health problem, access to social service, or some human rights violation happen against them. So they are the most vulnerable. So they really need support or help.
So we hope to introduce you to more volunteers that will also involve during a medical mission last year. They've actually been very good friends of mine for many years, and they all have had a wide experience themselves, but you can see what their personal experience have been.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn, and I would really love to have today to have a chat with these folks that's sitting with me today, because all of them had joined me for last year on our trip to Cambodia. So let me introduce our panel. This is the round table, and we're just gonna have a chat. So I know some of you, or many of you, are veterans of these medical trips since the late 90s in Vietnam, and now some of you even bring your children along with you. So why do you do this year after year?
I actually go on these trips for the past 25 years for a very selfish reason. I think it's good for me. It's good for my mental and emotional health. It's kind of like a vacation for the soul. When you see other people and how they live, it gives you perspective about what's going on in your life and how important some things are and how insignificant other things are. And I now take my kids because I think children get to a certain age and they need perspective in their life too. And they need to be a part of something larger than themselves. I think my son actually, when he got into high school, asked me, what is the meaning of life? And what is it that makes a life worth living? We talked about it a lot. And one of the answers that I came up with for him is that a life is worth living when you do something for somebody more unfortunate than yourself, when you do something for your community, when you do something for the earth in which you live.
Thank you. Thank you. That's wonderful. So Vin, you have a business. You're running a really successful business, and yet you dropped all that and went with us.
I went to Cambodia on the mission last year, not really knowing anything about stateless Vietnamese. I did a little Googling on the floating village, but I had no idea. Obviously, I knew that they were poor, but this trip was an aha moment for me, paradigm shift, perhaps life-changing in some perspective. I'm in agreement with a lot of what Dr. Denise has mentioned. I found a lot of hard work that I've been, working on this project. It's for selfish reason. It kind of makes you feel good because you're doing something good. But going back to the trip, I mean, the people that I saw over there, they look like me, right? They look like my parents. Their kids look like my kids. They spoke the same language. They ate the same food. They celebrate and and embrace the same cultures that I do. So I went back and asked the question, why am I here with everything that I have, and why are they there? So we had a family discussion. And if you can play the slide of the map, my parents, they live near the coast in Vietnam, Nha Trang and Quy Nhơn. And obviously, after the Vietnam War, they couldn't survive to seek freedom. Our family fled by boat. We were the boat people, like the millions of family that took the risks to go in the ocean, and many millions, countless, hundreds and thousands of millions have died. And we were just lucky to land in the shores of Philippines and then took refuge in the U.S. And we're here now, and my kids here. But that family meeting was, what about all the people, Vietnamese people that live in the border of Cambodia and the neighboring country? It's obvious, natural that they go by foot, đi đường bộ đó, across to seek freedom. And that's the fate that we see today in these people. And for me, it's the question is why, right? Really, it's luck, right? And there's another slide of my son. The paradigm shift for me is at the tail end of the trip. We went to this area where must have been 500 to 1,000 kids, and most of them are very malnourished. We met a little boy, his name is Nam. We took a picture, and my son, Benjamin, who was 7 years old last year, barely turned 8, and he's considered to be, small. I took a picture of next to Nam is 12 years old, and you can play the slide. And he's not an outlier. Nam, most kids are severely malnourished. Who knows what other issues, psychological issues besides the mental issues, the physical issues. And I thought to myself, wow, my son could have been Nam. My son now, he lives in America with all these abundances, all these opportunities. He can be whatever he wants, even the president of the United States if he really wanted to. But Nam doesn't have the ability, that opportunity.
So Nam has been in your mind
ever since, yeah. And then the sad part of it was at the end when we left by boat and we said goodbye to all these people. And I had a reflection that here we are going back to the U.S., going back to abundancy, to materialistic, to opportunities, to whatever we want to do. And here's Nam and the rest of the kids, floating village people. They're thinking of what to eat tomorrow. And Nam can only dream of opportunity and really waiting for spark. Like us or whoever's in the audience listening today, that spark can change Nam's life and the people in Cambodia's life.
So you want to make that change for that one boy?
I will definitely try. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ian, every year I see you on the same trip, right?
Oh, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Jocelyn, for giving us the opportunity to share our medical mission experience. Yes, I've done this quite a few times.
Few dozen times.
Yes. Well, it has become an addiction. I'm addicted to the feelings that in my lifetime, I can unselfishly help others. And simply the rewards are just free, warm hugs. And the joy of sharing this experience, this memorable time with my friends, my colleagues, and all the other volunteers. So that's why we've been back years after years.
So how many dentists do you have this time?
We have 4. We have 3 dentists from Southern California and 1 dentist from Vietnam.
And how many patients did you take care
We
of?
probably see, between the 4 of us, about 100, 120 patients a day.
I see.
And we work 4 days, and the last day we went and helped with the medical team
Is this conditions worse than what you've seen through so many years in Vietnam?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes I just look at a child's mouth and I'm overwhelmed. There's all the teeth are abscessed.
So tell us the story about what your husband did.
Well, for most of these children, they've never seen a dentist. And not just this one child. Most of the child, we have to take them aside and teach them how to brush their teeth. If they don't have a toothpaste, salt. Salt is a disinfectant. You gotta brush your teeth before it gets to this point. Some are baby teeth that we can extract, but some are permanent teeth, and they.
I think he took the boy into the bathroom.
Yes, he took the boy in the bathroom and
with the toothbrush and actually
Yeah.
teaching that boy how to brush his teeth. And the boy was in his teens.
Oh yes,
We're not talking about a 4 or 5 year old boy.
No.
Right? A teenager.
Right.
Yeah. Why do you do this? Why go to Cambodia? Vietnam has gotten better. Why don't we just stay in Cambodia? Why do we go and seek the Vietnamese living in Cambodia?
Well, I think because we've mostly been concentrating our trips previously in Vietnam, we can see a lot of cases and we have a very good basis for comparison. So we've seen all of these severe poverty, severe lack of infrastructure before, but that was in Vietnam 15, 20 years ago. And they were usually a result of single disasters. We have not seen this level of severe poverty and lack of infrastructure in Vietnam for more than 20 years. And the problem is these people, they don't have a social net. I mean, they're stateless Vietnamese living in Cambodia.
There's so many needs also in the U.S., right? Especially in this pandemic. Why are we doing this?
I think many people can step outside of themselves. I mean, we all know that there are needs out there, but for the same reason that, I've seen somebody who doesn't have a job will stop and actually give $1 to the guy who's begging on this freeway corner. I believe in the goodness of people. I think people can step up.
Does it take a lot?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we can all donate $5, $10, $20, $100 for, it's a cost of a coffee at Starbucks, right? Or cost of a tea at 7-Eleven.
Under $5.
Under $5.
And or a good meal at a nice restaurant. So
right.
I don't think it's a lot to ask.
So here's my last question to all of you. What's the most memorable moment for you?
Yeah, I definitely the picture with Nam and Benjamin, because I see myself in them, I see my kids in them, and we can easily bend them. But going back to Denise, we talked about why should we be giving during this difficult time? Everybody's facing difficult times right now. I would say you multiply that by 10 times the people that are living in Cambodia right now. The struggle they're going through right now with the dams being built by all the neighboring countries. There's no fish right now. They rely so much on fish to eat. What's more important? What are we doing in our lives that's more important than saving lives, changing lives? For me, I'll definitely concentrate on doing that.
Thank you. Thank you, Vin.
Well said, Vin. For me, all the trips are memorable. This last trip I went to Cambodia, there was this one boy. He was 6 years old. He looked about 4 years old, and that's typical of this community. The stature of the children are smaller than what their age would be. He walked in with his sandal tucked under his arm, and I asked him, "Why don't you wear your sandals?" And he said, "Oh, I have to save them. I walked barefoot here." And then he proceeded to show me the 5 teeth that he want me to remove, as if this is the only chance to help ease his chronic pain from these abscess teeth. I mean, 6 years old, chronic pain. I was overwhelmed. I mean, it's just. I've seen.
You see how early independence they have to be.
He's so young, a child
Yeah.
this young, so independent, so brave, and their survival skills mature too early, way too early. So for me, it has been an addiction, and if I have to travel all the long distance working under these harsh weather condition, it is all worth it for my time and effort. And I hope that you will join us in contributing so that IHM can continue to support these stateless Vietnamese in Cambodia.
Well, in the same vein, actually, just wanted to say also that the reason I think that I actually put so much faith in IHM is because I worked with these people, and I actually am very impressed by the leadership in this project. I mean, they're all extremely dedicated. They're all amazingly competent. And most importantly, they're pure of heart, because I see all these people putting so much time, so much money, so much effort into doing this project, and they're not doing it for ego or for money or for power. They're just doing it because they want to help people. And so that's why I'm really, really impressed, and I think this project has a really good chance of succeeding.
Thank you.
For me, though, the most profound thing that happened in Cambodia was I kind of got jaded, because you go to so many trips and you see so many, malnutrition and, all parasitic disease and strokes and, paralysis and all this stuff. But what blew my mind was when we arrived into these floating villages by boat, I saw this area where there's all these stakes in the lake that had these shirts and personal items hanging on them. And
the stakes, and then
there's stakes into the river, and there are shirts draped over them. Some of them have like necklaces and beads on them. So I asked what they were, and it turns out that was their cemetery. And because they don't have access to land to bury the dead, they pretty much roll the body in cloth and stake it down with sticks and stone, because, wooden coffin floats. And so, and then I realized that this is an area just outside of the village where the water flows back and forth each day, washing, the rotting germs back and forth. And then later, as I was going to the bathroom on one of the barge that on Kampong Lung, I saw that everything that I flushed down the toilet went straight down the pipe into the lake. And I looked out the window, and I saw a houseboat 5 feet away. And the lady on that houseboat was scooping up water to, I don't know, maybe do her laundry or cook. And so it kind of blew my mind, and I thought, oh my God, maybe these people aren't small just because they're malnourished. Maybe they're loaded with tons of parasites.
That's right.
That's right. And so it's the infrastructure, the lack of access to clean water makes a huge impact on their lifestyle and the health,
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, all your donations that come into IHM, we have 0 administrative costs. So every single cent, $1, $5, $10, $20, $100, every single penny are really geared for the children, the people, the Vietnamese people, stateless, that living in Cambodia. All of us here are volunteer. we have absolutely no administrative cost for this project. So please help us, and please help them. It's worth it. Thank you.
In 2020, many events happened. Many unfortunate events happened to people, and many lives have been changed forever. We cannot even imagine how the living situation now. To introduce the situation of this year, we want to go back to Dr. Mike and Tran to talk about the situation today.
Thank you, Brian. The situation there is absolutely dire, and it's much, much sooner than we had expected. 2020 had the record low water level on TonLe Sap Lake, so it really created a muddy slush from ankle to about knee deep, and so the fish are completely gone, right? And the villagers have resorted to eating rats. We had to immediately send over some relief money. IHM sent over $10,000 to provide relief rations of rice and ramen to over 800 families living in these floating villages on the TonLe Sap Lake. You know, pictures is going to be worth 1,000 of my words, so I'll stop talking, and I want you to look at the following video that we filmed 2 weeks ago. Just be careful, because some of the footage is going to be really tough. It certainly was very tough on my stomach, and it really was tough on my heart, because some of what you're going to see, it's just stuff that I never thought I would see in this day and age.
Chú Tư.
Chào Sơn.
Dạ, chú Tư khỏe không?
Cái bệnh hoạn hoài cô ơi. Dạ.
Chú Tư năm nay bao nhiêu tuổi rồi?
63 tuổi rồi con.
Dạ hả? 63 tuổi, vậy chú Tư sống ở trên này được bao nhiêu năm rồi?
Mình lên Campuchia hồi năm 81 con.
Ủa, 30 mấy năm? Dạ. Vậy hồi đó sao mà chú Tư quê ở đâu?
Quê ở Hồng Ngự con.
Hồng Ngự, vậy sao chú Tư lưu lạc qua bên đây vậy?
Mình hồi trước theo ở dưới đúng tuổi nghĩa vụ quân sự này nọ, thành ra mình thấy cuộc sống mà nó cũng không còn ổn thỏa. Nhưng mà ăn thì cũng không mấy gì được.
Dạ.
Thì nghe đồn nhau, vũ đen nhau, nó là đi vượt biên qua Mỹ.
Dạ.
Thành ra mình mới tập trung đi với anh em ta, đi xuống tàu, xuống ghe, đi bằng đêm.
Dạ.
Và tới chừng cuối cùng thì theo dòng sông Mekong đó là chừng tới chỗ biểu mình lên bờ. Lên bờ mình đâu có ngờ đó là cái Campuchia chứ không phải là cái bên Mỹ, mà cái Campuchia lại.
Cho nên là ngủ một đêm tới sáng là mình ở đâu không biết. Mới phát hiện là mình mới Campuchia.
Khi phát hiện mình ở Campuchia rồi.
Dạ. Rồi thứ tư rồi bây giờ cuộc sống nó như thế nào?
Cuộc sống cũng vất vả quá cô ơi, mặn cái gì cũng không được cái gì hết trơn. Dưới sông thì cũng hết cá, mà nước thì không lên nữa.
Dạ.
Rồi mình già lớn tuổi lên thôi người ta mướn mặn người ta cũng phải lựa.
Dạ.
Lựa lứa tuổi đàng hoàng người ta mới mướn, chứ trẻ người mướn với già người ta đâu có mướn mình được.
Dạ.
Dạ, cũng rất vất vả lắm cô ơi.
Dạ. Rồi không có cá rồi lấy cái gì ăn?
Thì đi vô rừng đâm chuột đâm bọ là cái nọ kiếm ăn kiếm sống chứ biết sao giờ. Dạ.
Mấy con chuột rồi đi bắt cách nào?
Đi đâm con, lấy chĩa đâm một đêm á.
Dạ hả?
Mình đậu đầu đèn cái đầu mình đi đâm.
Dạ. Dạ, rồi thím Tư, ngày thím Tư làm gì thím Tư?
Cũng ở không làm cá rồi làm mướn làm thuê người ta rồi ăn thôi.
Dạ. Ông bà có bao nhiêu đứa con rồi?
Có 2 đứa con con.
Dạ, 2 đứa con cũng đi làm mướn hết rồi.
Đi làm mướn hết rồi cô ơi.
Dạ. Đó rồi mà phải chi mà được ở bên Mỹ thì bây giờ sung sướng rồi ha.
Dạ.
Cũng đỡ, cũng có được ổn định. Còn giờ ở đây nó cứ trôi nổi.
Trôi nổi hoài, giờ chỗ ăn chỗ nơi chỗ ở cũng không có ổn định nữa nè.
Dạ.
Nay đuổi mơ đuổi mà đuổi tôi đó con bé chồng á thì mỗi một tháng cũng vậy là một.
Dạ. Đó thì đó cũng đuổi đi đó rồi. Bệnh hoạn thì sao?
Bệnh hoạn thì mua thuốc bậy bạ cho theo cái hàng theo tiệm tỉnh uống chứ đâu có đi nhà thương đâu có tiền đâu đi cô.
Dạ. Rồi nước
thì uống nước dưới sông cô ơi.
Dạ.
Lên đóng phèn uống.
Phải ghé tiền ra kìa trên. Tiền ra kìa trên.
Nó bệnh em vẫn khám nó luôn.
Người dân tại Campuchia hôm nay họ bắt chuột khoảng 3 ngày, 8 chiếc ghe.
8 chiếc ghe bao nhiêu người đi bắt chuột? 8 người. Bắt mấy ngày được nhiêu đây? 2 ngày 2 đêm. 2 ngày.
3 ngày.
3 đêm 3 ngày. Họ bắt họ chia nhau. Ở đây là một điểm mấy cô mượn cái nhà này để dạy học cho các em. Một nhóm nữa lớp học Việt Nam tại Cung Sơn Năng. Cô giáo tới dạy. Một cái chòi của ngoài đồng.
Chành chăm nét trò mó một mình có đáy gì nè trơn ta là để khu xua đong tiết để khu xua để nát sao
Gia đình của anh Vũ có 5 đứa con. Mỗi ngày đi lưới là bằng cái ghe này. Sáng đi chiều về. Hai chồng đi, 5 đứa con đi cùng luôn. Đây là cái nhà của anh chị. Nhà cũng sắp chìm nữa. Thùng nước này nãy em trai lấy nước từ sông để vô, mỗi lần uống lấy thùng này, không có phèn để mà lóng luôn. Nay bắt được 4 con cá, 5 đứa con với 2 chồng. Nhà cửa trống trơn, mưa tạt dột. Nha. Nhà ngập nước hết rồi mấy em ngồi chơi. Chơi đi con. Chơi gì đây? Chơi gì vậy? Chơi bùn hả? Đâu chơi gì đâu, là chơi sơ coi đây. Trời ơi, đây nè. Làm kẹo đó hả? Con đang làm gì đây? Nè. Nó cắn không con, chó hả?
Không, chó thì không có.
Con có đi học không? Không có. Cái này con đang nắng bánh gì đây? Hả? Sình này làm bánh gì đây?
Bây giờ tròn lấy cái tấm sẽ vô là kẹo.
À vậy đó hả? Kẹo nè, nó kẹo của mấy em nè, nó kẹo mút. Đó, rồi bánh.
Ôi trời đạn đó nó lại làm mất dép luôn.
À. Nó xung quanh là như vậy nè, mấy em ngồi chơi.
As you can see, people of TonLe Sap need you. We need you. Every contribution can make a difference. We call on all of you to help us to be a volunteer, to donate, and to help us to help the people, especially the children of TonLe Sap. You can visit us at ihumanmission.org to learn more about organization and to donate the money to us. You also can donate through GoFundMe.com for the Forgotten with Children of TonLe Sap. And again, we appreciate all of your help, all of your donation. Every single contribution will make a difference, will allow the children to grow up, to know that someone cares, and to allow them to have a better future. To discuss the vision, the project of the organization, I would like to introduce Mr. Win Nguyen.
Education. You know, we all know it starts with education. Even the stateless Vietnamese want desperately to educate their kids. So we're going to start with that. I think the fundamental is education. And we want to build a school right in the heart of TonLe Sap. I had the liberty of going into the floating village last year where their kids was in school, and it was a little shed that they rented out. It was on dirt floor. There were some walls. There was really no curriculum at all. But at least, you know, they were kind of going to school. But 6 months after that and COVID, the landlord had evicted them. They'd taken that space back. Now the kids have nowhere else to go to school. So they're borrowing these huts that you see. It's, if you look at the pictures and videos previously, it's very heartbroken. And we want to start with that. The details of it is right in the lake, near the main road where a lot of the stateless Vietnamese kids will be. It's going to be 3,500 square foot. It's being constructed, and we want to be able to not only provide a school for our kids, but also a medical center for it and a water filtration system. We all understand the difficulties of COVID at this time, and you multiply that by many times in Cambodia. So we ask for your help, and we see this as a big vision, as a starting point to get our kids, the stateless Vietnamese, educated. With that being said, I want to transfer this over to Dr. Tran to talk about the water filtration system.
All right. Well, it starts with the construction of the schoolhouse, which is of the most urgent need, but we understand that it's not going to stop there. So this schoolhouse is going to be also the place where we're going to first provide a clinic, a healthcare clinic for the villagers. Access to medical care has been absolutely non-existent, so we're going to borrow one of the rooms and have a weekly medical clinic staffed with the local doctors, and our focus is going to be on women's health. But we really can't stop there either. We have to provide them with clean water. I mean, it's absolutely vital. The water that the villagers are currently drinking, bathing, cooking, it's just nasty. I mean, it's the nastiest water I've seen. And when you go there, you can smell it. You can see the dirt and the mud and the trash. And then you are just hit by how incredibly foul it is. So we need a clean water system. So on the site, we're going to have a system where we're actually going to provide, basically have a very deep well and provide a filtration system to make sure that the villagers have clean drinking water. So this comprehensive facility is going to house a school, a medical clinic, as well as a clean water system. But how are we going to do this? Richard, how are we going to do this?
This is the best investment in my mind that anybody can make, but that might have eternal consequences, Boxy. I'm telling you, we can change the world for these children with a very small amount of money. And your contribution here will ensure that we are able. We're not going to save the world, but we're going to change the world and save the world for these children, 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30 at a time, is not just for today. We need it for today. We need you to dig deep. Please sacrificially give. Give more than the cost of 7 Leaves coffee. Give a lot, because this is the best investment you can make. And then come with us so you can see where this is going. These children are worth whatever sacrifice you can make now, because it will change the world for them today, tomorrow, and well into the future. That's what we're talking about here. So please, when you give, write more than you plan, because it is worth the investment, I promise you.
Please help us to accomplish this mission. You can donate through the organization at ihumanmission.org. You can donate through the GoFundMe.com. Please help us. Please help these people. You can make the difference, and we count on you.
The money that Dr. Brian had just mentioned and asked is going to be so impactful to the lives of so many of the children, ethnic children in Cambodia. And I want you to meet one of those lucky girls who we've helped. Let's make sure that more of these girls have the opportunities for these life-changing opportunities. In the word of one of our board members, Jocelyn Tran, she said, when you save a girl, you save a generation. And so I want you to look at the video and know that you're going to save generations of Vietnamese children in Cambodia. Please listen to her story.
Con tên Thảo, con đang ở nội trú ở tại Campuchia. Năm nay con 14 tuổi. Và hoàn cảnh gia đình con có 4 anh em. Ba mẹ con thì đi làm mướn, làm ở xa. Còn chị con thì đi vừa học vừa đi làm để nuôi con. Còn anh con thì đi về ở với ông nội bà nội để được đi học. Còn em con thì đi với ba mẹ.
Em Út đó hả?
Dạ.
Em Út thì đi theo ba mẹ, đi làm theo ba mẹ, tại vì nó còn nhỏ phải không?
Dạ.
Rồi, vậy thì tại sao mà con ở nhà nội trú của các sơ vậy, con không ở nhà con?
Tại vì gia đình con khó khăn nên con phải vô nhà nội trú. Tại vì con ở nhà con không có giấy tờ để học tiếp. Tại vì con rất là buồn. Tại vì lúc đó con tưởng là con không có giấy tờ, con học tiếp để tới tương lai của con. Nhưng mà bây giờ con được vô nhà nội trú, con được có giấy, con rất là mừng để con được học thêm.
Vậy hả? Con rất là vui mừng vì con được đi học tiếp theo, bởi vì con đã có giấy tờ rồi phải không?
Dạ.
Vậy thì con có ao ước gì trong tương lai nha con?
Dạ có.
Con ao ước gì, con làm gì, con muốn làm gì nè?
Ao ước của con là được làm bác sĩ. Đây là chỗ ngủ của con.
Chỗ ngủ hả? Trong này có mấy bạn?
Trong này có 8 bạn.
Có 8 bạn hả?
Dạ.
Nó có 4 cái giường, nó có 8 bạn ngủ chung một cái phòng đó đó hả?
Của chúng con.
Phòng học của chúng con. Có các bạn đang ngồi học. Chúng con được bao nhiêu bạn?
Chúng con có 25 bạn.
25 bạn. Chúng ta đang ngồi học đây.
Hi, my name's Richard Botkin, and I have the privilege today of interviewing a number of the young people who went on our trip last summer. They are representative of the greater group, and these are amazing young people. We're going to start with Melinda, who was barely 5 last summer. Melinda, tell us about your thoughts and feelings after that trip, please.
I feel very bad that they have to live like that. And I feel very grateful that I have all these stuff. And poor kids in Cambodia, they don't have any clean water to drink or food or shoes or clothes. And I really wish that I could help them in any way. And I will come back next year to help them pass out stuff.
All right. Thanks very much, dear. Benjamin, what were your thoughts and feelings after the trip?
Well, I felt very bad for that the Cambodia people had to live like that, and I feel very grateful to have all these things in America. And I realized I was a spoiled, rotten kid, and I will work hard to help my family and get good grades so I could go back one day next year so I could help them.
Sai, your experience was a little different. Tell us about the girl in pink.
There was a girl in pink. She was at a schoolhouse on
on the floating village, and she was 16, I was 14, and I was taking in the medical issues that they had in Vietnamese. So then I would translate on English onto paper, and I would give it to Dr. Mai Kan. And one girl, actually, she was 16. Right. She had 2 children, and she wasn't at the medical office for her. She was there for her children. But I was like, oh, where's the father? Like, just like knowing, like, oh, cái đó có bố không? And hai con có bố không? And then she's like, oh, bố con đó là bố của tao. And so that means that her father was her children's father. Then
right.
for like 5 seconds, my face was like, I was mind
right.
blown. And then I made the realization that her father had raped her when she was 13, in which she had 2 children. So basically I realized we were the same girl, but we lived 2 different lives.
Right. Unbelievable. Thank you. Britt? Oh, we're going with Thomas? Thomas.
Yep.
Okay. Tell me about your picture.
So there's a picture of me and this one girl that I was helping my dad examine. And when she walked up to our table, yeah, that girl right there. And when she walked up to our table, I assumed she was maybe 8 or 9. She was very small in stature. And turns out she's 14. And at the time, I just turned 15. And you can tell there's a stark difference here.
Right.
And she's even a lot smaller than my younger sister, who's 10. And she was not an outlier. I saw children in Cambodia who lacked food and clean water. I saw children who were older than me and yet were half my height and weight.
Right.
I saw children who were the same age as me, but they only reached first grade because they had to drop out and help the parents earn a few cents a day. I saw children who did not know what a refrigerator or a toothbrush was. I saw children who were scared to drink their own water because that's the same water that they poop and pee in.
Right.
So in those few days in Cambodia, it was like a slap in the face by reality. And I recognized the dire need for help by these people. And these children need a lot of help, and we need to help them because no one else will.
Well said. Very well said. Britt.
Well, there's a photo of me and one of our dentists, and we were assisting a little boy. He was about 10 or 11, and he came all by himself. And we asked where his parents were, and he said that he was originally going to come with his grandmother, but because his brother got sick, his grandmother had to stay home. And I just thought it was amazing how this little boy could go all the way to this clinic by himself. I mean, I couldn't imagine going to a clinic by myself at 11 or 8.
Right.
And overall, I just thought that I'm so lucky to have my parents who've raised and supported me.
And they were there with you, serving.
Yeah. It was just it was so nice to see that we could help all these people.
Good job. Wesley, how did all this change your view of the world?
Yeah, so when I went to Cambodia, I began to question the existence of not only my life, but basically like what the purpose of life is. And so for me, I'm able to live a life of luxury and privilege where I basically had everything handed to me. I was born into a life where I had education, where I had food, where I could basically do whatever I want. However, the people in Cambodia, they don't have any of the luxuries that I have. And so they're forced to live a life where they're always fighting for survival, while for me, I'm always able to live a life where I can thrive and not have to survive.
Right.
And so with all these like questions and debates I had in my head about like why am I able to live this life and why do the people in Cambodia have to live the life that they live, I began to realize that the purpose of my life, or I guess the newfound purpose, that I discovered was that it's now my job to help these people in Cambodia and give them the privileges and the luxuries and the opportunities that I was able to be born into. And so I wanted to use my college education to help the people in Cambodia and to figure out different ways to reduce the disparity between my life and their life.
Outstanding. And ladies and gentlemen who are watching this, you're looking at in 20 years, these are the people that are going to lead this team. How many of you are ready to go back? Okay, that's the right answer. Great job. Thanks very much.
Thank you for joining us in our journey. Please help us because we need to build a school for these children. We need to give people clean water and save every life that we can.
Xin cảm ơn quý vị đã theo dõi chương trình của chúng tôi. Chúng tôi hy vọng là quý vị đã hiểu thêm về tình cảnh của những người Việt Nam, của trẻ em Việt Nam tại TonLe Sap. Xin quý vị hãy giúp đỡ chúng tôi, hãy giúp đỡ những trẻ em này để họ biết là họ có thể một tương lai tốt hơn. Xin kính chào quý vị.